to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Oh, let's see. Who do we need to see? You?
I was sworn in. Does that, I guess that means I'm a member.
I can't hear you.
I was sworn in, so, thanks. Oh, I'm on, look at that.
So you're good?
Yeah.
Good. All right, we don't need to do that then.
Congrats, Donna.
Thank you.
Public participation. If anyone has anything to bring before the commission that is not on the agenda, this would be a great time to come up and let us know about it. No one's volunteering. Okay, we'll move on. Next matter is show cause hearings for West Flat Hill Road. Mr. Hecht. And I believe we have gotten some plan, proposals and plans. Would you care to come up and fill the commission in on what you're planning on doing and who you're working with, sir?
I'd be happy to.
Great.
Would you guys like the copies before I?
If you have
Yeah, I
distributed,
printed
yeah,
out.
by all means, yeah.
And if you could just give us your name and,
Yep, yeah, my name's Peter Heck, 37 Fairgrounds Road in Woodbury. That's right, the address right?
Correct.
Yes,
Nope,
sir.
yeah, you
That's
got it.
correct.
Because I don't live at this property. So Jordan, you want to?
I'm all set, thank
he
you.
has one. I just looked at his, so I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
So, I worked with Jordan, we had a site walk, Carl, he came out last week, and, I guess, I think, from my impression, that overall it went okay. It sounded like the majority of the issues was with the pond that I dug out. And since we all kind of, it sounds like we all agreed that we'd like to put the pond back, and so I talked to my engineer about the sequence of putting the pond back. And so I outlined what that would look like. It's basically just every effort I can to restore the grade back to exactly what it was, with the addition of some deep-rooted vegetation with your recommendation. I worked with Planter's Choice in Newtown, and they gave me some suggestions for vegetation that was well-suited for the wet soils that will be there. And so at the end of the construction, there'll be some trees that'll go along the length of the property line.
So you're going to, I'm not quite clear about what the proposal is. The pond had been filled
Excavated.
Yes,
or excavated, I'm
Yep.
sorry, and you're gonna fill it back again?
correct.
Okay. My recollection, and I'm gonna ask Carl what his is, because he was there before, was that when we gave the original approvals in whatever year it was, 17 or 19 or
19,
something,
I believe, yeah.
that was not really an area of concern when we walked it?
Yeah, I believe you're right. Yep.
Is that?
What was
make
not
sense
an
to you?
area of
Where
concern?
the pond is now, or where they want to put it, it wasn't a wetland area that we were concerned about? I don't think it was a wetland area at all.
Yes, that was definitely a wetland area. The part that wasn't was way at the eastern uppermost reaches of the property.
Yeah, that was
And this is
not.
at the western
It's
end.
on the western side,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so what you have kind of going on there is a number of springs or seeps or whatever that come out of the hillside. And I think historically, you know, that was a property that had cattle on it, and previous owners probably massaged that area a little bit to hold water for the cattle.
Okay, I don't recollect that. I do recall that down gradient from where the pond would be, there was a seep that had a lot of invasives growing around it.
Well, there were invasives everywhere on that property when we
Everywhere.
first went,
That's
and he's done a fantastic job of cleaning up the mess over there, and it looks remarkable compared to what I
Okay.
recall it being. So,
Thank you.
the part that we thought as being non-viable was this up here at the
Was
top of the hill.
like, I call it the burn pit.
Right, well, that
That was
It's
nothing,
all
that
com-
was not a wetland.
not by the time we got there.
No, they completely.
So that's the part that we did not feel was worth renovating or whatever. And then down, this is the well house and the water course that comes
Yeah,
down.
that was fine.
And then, this area over here
To the,
is,
what is that,
this
south?
is the pond site that he attempted to enlarge. And then there's more of a seep-type wetlands over
Right.
here.
Yes,
When we looked at them, these were so overgrown that it was kind of difficult to even tell what they were
Right.
back in the day. So this is all back to meadow now, both sides. There is still existing vegetation along both banks of
the stream.
the stream, along the southern property line and the western property line. It's really just this last, maybe 50 yards up from the western line that is where the issues lie, in my opinion.
Okay, well, that's why I'm asking, because you saw it before. So, proposing to put the pond in,
So this is the pond site over here, this red thing,
yeah, back in the corner.
yep.
Does that make sense to you,
Did what make sense to me?
what he's proposing?
I haven't really had a chance to look at that yet, to be honest with you.
Wait, the red thing is the proposed,
Yeah, it's kind of the
and then
the
there's just,
existing slash expanded on pond that was excavated out.
oh, so that's the part that's gonna be filled in. So what's the hole with water, with the sprinkler hose coming out?
So, and would you like to
Yeah,
explain?
I'm happy to explain. So, so I think Carl was pretty accurate. So it was essentially a depression that it looks like somebody made just to collect water for cattle. If what I understand, in the 60s, it was a big cattle farm. And so it collected water, and my attempt was to pronounce that even more, to collect water, and it didn't seem like a great idea for a few reasons. So I decided that we should just put the dirt back, and essentially that's the end of it. And the best way to do that is what I've outlined on the first page. That's per my engineer's recommendations. I said pretty much the most important part that there's two things I really need to be careful of when we do the work, and I have hired a contractor once hopefully this gets approved. The first being when we pump the water out that is currently collected in the hole, to do so as safely as we can to not promote erosion. And his suggestion was to essentially create like a sprinkler system and dissipate the water slowly over it. There's many acres there, so we can dissipate it luckily. So that was the most important, that was the first important part, and then the second was to,
Know what that
as we
is.
fill the hole in, to do so
That's-
slowly,
that's
so
the
that when we
pond.
bring the grade back to where it was,
That's the drainage.
it doesn't
we're gonna
settle
put in.
funky and
This is-
does go
Yeah.
back naturally.
It's sort of like a seep hose. Piece of
Donna,
pipe
that
with- piece
takes
of pipe with
taking
holes in it.
The soil lifts in
I thought that
very
was just
small
temporary
sections,
to
and then
pump the
doing
hole out.
That's what I'm
active
trying to
efforts
confirm.
to the soil upon each lift. So you would get like a 12-inch lift of loose soil, and then they would have to bring in some type of machine, whether it's a vibratory plate compactor or something along those lines, maybe a trench roller, and then they would compact that soil so that nothing settled and none of the water that would
Yeah.
eventually move through that area would create any
And he's gonna
voids
fill it
or
in
something else that would then
Okay.
So that's
We'll
why
have
no
to
more
ask
than
him a few
Just gonna
questions.
confirm.
12 inches, no more than, not exceeding
Precisely.
12 inches thick.
that's pretty standard.
So let me just confirm my understanding, because
Yep.
it's, I'm looking at the other attachment to, number 1, which shows the existing pond location
Yep,
and your drainage, proposed drainage system.
yep, yep,
But when that's done, it's gonna be refilled, right? And brought up to, up to
Correct.
contour.
yep,
Okay.
exactly.
So the concern I had was that I was under the impression that this was an area that naturally was wet.
Okay,
So if you fill it up again, it's still gonna be wet. It's just gonna be wet dirt.
that is true.
I don't believe, even from our original visit years ago, that there was any significant wetland plants or anything in that area, and certainly there isn't now,
Correct.
because it's been dug up. So that is the plan. The plan is drain the hole, put the dirt back,
Yep.
seed it, and you have a pasture.
Well, he'll still end up with a depression that's gonna hold some water, right?
Yeah, it's probably gonna naturally make one, and we'll pronounce it exactly how it was.
Because there's not enough material, he's not bringing any material in or moving it.
back what
He's
was
just
there
putting
before.
back what he took out.
Right.
So he's still gonna end up with some kind of a depression there.
Yeah, so that depression, I don't quite know how to deal with this. It's not an active wetland. It's in the middle of a pasture.
Well, that had been flagged as a wetland area, and this one next to it as well. So there's gotta be wetland soils there.
It's not now, though.
Well, did you read the 2020 letter from the soil scientist?
No.
He was saying if it's about the same area,
That's
That-
actually a different location?
it was a different
Yeah,
location.
so I don't
Okay,
get confused.
all right, then never mind.
Yeah, I don't want
Your soil scientist did the analysis on the burn pit.
Yeah.
Higher up on the grade that you guys remember.
That's on the opposite side of the property.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
If you're
the-
looking at attachment 1, it's on the, I guess it's on the east side?
The old burn pit?
Yeah.
Yes.
And when we were there in, 5 years ago, whenever it was, there was nothing there. There was some standing water just because rain had fallen, like the day before we went there. But it had been completely excavated, and they'd been burning trash, not trash, but brush.
The brush, yeah.
Okay.
But to Carl's point, that pond area was delineated as wetlands in 2014 when they did a soil survey of all of
Well,
the.
then it's gonna go back to wetland areas. Is it something that should be protected? That's the question we have.
With markers too, or?
Markers, something. Do we wanna let it?
Well, you kinda have to deal with both of those in the same sort of manner,
do.
I think.
And just below that, there is a definite
and-
seep that has been a seep, still
And
is.
If he put a depression there, even if he doesn't plant anything, you're gonna get vegetation growing there before very long at all.
Mhm.
So are
But
you,
if it's gonna be open meadow, it's gonna get mowed. It's not gonna be any kind of functioning wetland. Is it?
It is pretty important to point out that in the summer, it's very dry. So, I mean, you guys obviously were there last week. We've had incredible amount of rain in the last few weeks, so it was seeping, but you would never know during the dry seasons.
Right, and that's kind of
I'm not sure what that.
indicative of a lot of wetlands, because.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
nothing, I'm just, that's the reason why I'm able to mow it.
Especially when you don't have such vegetation canopy cover,
Yeah,
To
it, like,
actually
just kinda
retain
dries it
a- it-
out and-
will
Yeah.
effectively dry it out more
Would it be
aggressively.
possible to plant any sort of tree that might soak up the water more?
Yeah, so
That's what he's proposing.
yeah, I would like to do that.
it doesn't
Um,
look like you're not really proposing to put
Not
anything
there.
in that area, though. You're,
The pond.
you're,
Yeah, if you go to the last page,
is this where you're talking about the location of all the plantings?
no, if you go to the last page, there's another row of trees. And you'll see that, it's on attachment
This
3.
one. Here.
Okay.
See, the pond is up in, it's not shown well.
Oh,
It's
okay, I see
here,
it now.
Yeah,
And there's a line of trees, sort of
They're,
protecting the
So if
downgrade of
you
the property.
This one.
Yeah, so this is where the pond would be.
Yeah.
I think the planting plan looks like a good idea. That looks great.
yeah, this is what I wanted to do
Yeah,
a month ago. I
You
was
might
hoping,
consider
so-
putting some willows in there.
Yeah, I thought
They
about
suck up
that.
a lot of water.
I've heard that, yeah, it's a nice, I'm open to that, I like willow trees.
Plus, they're beautiful.
Yeah, they really are, yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
or even weeping cherries, which do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm happy with the tree choice, I'm
So,
not.
There's that.
When I talked to Planner's Choice, they recommend birch trees, they said that is really good at
So,
sucking up water.
so it looks to me like what you're actually gonna do here is to plant those trees in the trench that you have dug and then fill around them, cause that's the location of that trench.
Yeah, that is the location of
Right.
the trench, but the trench will go back to original grade along with the pond.
But-
So once the trench goes back, then I can plant the trees. So everything will go back to natural, and then I put the trees.
Yeah, he's not planning on backfilling the trench simultaneously with the plantings, I think is his point.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, yeah, you wanna fill it first, I think. I guess our
I mean,
question is,
if
do
you're-
we wanna try to identify the wetland or the wet air, that's going to be the wet area and have that demarcated so that's,
I think that's worth considering, and I think in our original discussions on this application, we had talked about ways to sort of do that.
we had.
And maybe the answer is just planting these trees around each of those wetlands to help delineate them.
Surrounded a little more.
That's what I'm thinking.
What do you think, Peter?
Well, I remember 3 years ago, we were talking about the markers, and where we kind of ended up, from what I remember, is that because it was hay, and agriculture use, if we put the markers in the ground, it's gonna get much more difficult to maintain the agricultural use of it. So what I proposed, I think, is more maintainable. I think it's kind of a good compromise where I can still work around the trees, and there's nobody that's at the property, so it's private property.
I personally, and this is what was asked for in 2020, was the wetland markers, and it did make it to the resolution, and there weren't wetland markers put in place. The idea that they would get in your way doesn't necessarily have to be true, and to that point, had they been in place, we might not have ended up in the situation that we're in right now. The goal would be to protect a lot of the wetlands that are either newly being enforced or protected, and there are some, like, similar to where you had the crossing in that channel there. To the back, there was another associated wetland area
Yep.
along that vegetated.
Yep.
If a marker was placed over there, in the event that we wanted to brush hog some more or expand a little bit more, that's always a constant reminder that this is your wetland. Not that you haven't been educated at this point, but across the property, it would have been helpful if we had those wetlands markers, because it might have stopped you from
Yeah, for future owners.
going as far as you
Yeah.
possibly did.
Well, you could reinforce that if you did, as Carl was suggesting, put a few trees around the edges of the wetland area as well. That's a,
We could put the markers on the trees.
and then you're not gonna hit.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think you're really gonna, be losing, income producing area, hay area there, because especially not the one where you have the pond location, but the other one, it's so wet and on a side hill there that if you try to go in there with a tractor and haying equipment, you're just gonna tear it all up in there, and you're,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but
you know what I mean?
I'd understand.
So I don't think it's
Yeah.
really costing you anything, so to speak, as far as your usable property there.
Yep,
If anything, it might keep you out of trouble from
Yeah.
getting in there and getting bogged down and that sort of thing.
We were seeing evidence of channel erosion forming already as a result
yeah,
of all
that's
the
why I
water
wanna
that was going
plant the
over.
trees, yeah.
No, in the depression area that he's talking about, just down gradient from the pond location.
Oh, I see.
That's
yeah.
that natural spring we
Yeah,
kind of
yep.
were discussing at that time. We were seeing channel erosion as a result of the seeping from that water. Having that delineated, one, is going to keep you out of there and keep you from bringing a tractor in and causing a trench like he was saying. And two, it's going to go a long way at, one, accumulating a lot of the water that's trying to rush off your site, and two, rehabilitate a wetland that was previously brush hogged when it frankly shouldn't have been.
Just a little clarification too, you're, on the pond part that you're gonna fill back in, you're not gonna have any sort of a formal outflow from there?
Once it's back,
Yeah, once you fill in the hole and end up
Yes.
with a smaller depression, how are you gonna handle the water that comes out of there?
so there's a swale that's already put in, it's under the brush, or the tall grass. that
At the
we put-
perimeter of, or
Yeah, like, exactly,
two
yeah,
properties?
that's been there there's actually like 3 in there, and we just kind of let them grow. And so that's what was there before, the water would just kind of naturally come out in the wet seasons, find its way to the channel that's already there and then runs.
They're pretty well-defined channels. I have seen them
Well,
myself.
that's all the more reason to mark it and not drive through it.
No, this is on the border of his property and the adjoining property. He'd have to
Yeah, you can't.
practically trespass in
Yeah,
order
it's,
to
yeah, it's,
But
damage
That
these
still
areas.
leaves open the question of whether we want to have to delineate the pond with markers, trees, or both.
if I may, I prefer to just do the trees. I'm well aware of where the wetlands are now, and it is private property. I'm the only person that owns it, excuse me, the only person that goes there. I'd prefer to not put signs up. That would be my only ask. And I'm
You
well
know,
aware
You've
of.
sin the markers, right? It's just a 4x4 wooden stake.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
not-
aware of what they look like, but I prefer not to.
What's your pleasure?
Well, how do we prevent future owners from coming back with the same situation?
Yeah, I have to agree with Donna about that, not questioning
Yeah, and that's a good question, yeah.
what you're doing, but if and when, because eventually everything gets sold, somebody else comes in, they're not going to know what that is.
They won't know the history.
And it would be beneficial,
They're gonna cut down all your nice new trees.
yeah, they will.
I hope not.
Oh,
And then, yeah.
that's what they like to do.
I don't know.
You came in and did it.
Yeah, right?
I think we do
Yeah.
want the
Well,
markers
pick up pretty
and
bushes.
a
That's
few
true.
trees, just to, so people coming in, you'll see a tree, there'll be a marker near it, you'll know what what they're dealing with. You already know, you're not gonna be in there anyway. I don't think that should create a hardship for you.
Yeah, I
We're
mean,
not
if we
trying to.
put maybe something where, for the sale of the property, because I don't intend on selling the property, so I'd like to keep it as long as I live. It's a nice piece of property, so.
I think if you guys are willing to relinquish the wetlands markers, but Mr. Hecht is willing to, which I believe he is, I could be wrong though, get all the necessary plantings in for the pond after obviously reclaiming and rehabilitating the pond. Similarly, allowing the second depression just down gradient from the pond to, again, be delineated through vegetation or fencing or some type of demarcation to no longer traverse that area, go into brush hog, whatever the case may be, so we can actually get some rehabilitation. I'd be more than happy to make sure that, you know, Mr. Hecht and I have a line of communication going forward. This project will have to be monitored through its entire phasing up until completion. So if this commission was willing to relinquish the wetlands markers at this time, but Mr. Hecht was willing to go above and beyond and meet all the necessary aspects that you guys are requiring, I think all in all, we'll reach a pretty solid resolution with respect to this particular property. It has been done well, and he has taken care of it, but things have gone too far. And I think this commission would do well to try and bring it back as much as they can while still allowing the property owner reasonable maintenance and
It is a good plan.
I have to agree with Ms. Lesh, though, that, you know, anything can happen. And if somebody else comes on here, they have no way of knowing without something. I mean, I suppose we can put the order and permit on land records.
Am I correct that this would have to come back to us again before any kind of building can take place
Yes.
here?
Absolutely.
Because we would also want them up and down here.
Around the
So, but
stream.
having them with only livestock to observe them,
Is there any point, is that your?
kinda.
point?
That's kind of my point.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's kind of my point.
Yeah.
But yeah, if Mr. Hecht wanted to sell off each individual property as a building lot,
It would come back.
it would
Then
come
it
to you
has to
guys.
come back to us, right? So,
All right.
What about, can you put a placard on the tree that wouldn't damage the tree? So they
Well, the trees
set the
going in are
boundaries?
gonna be this big,
Yeah, but I mean,
They're like this.
yeah, or
Put your
this
finger-
big.
Yeah, they're like that big.
Our placard right now is about that.
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, we had to save a tree and I had a placard made and hung it on it and, you know, I don't know if that satisfies.
If we had trees this big, I'd say, yeah. We
Okay.
can nail one onto it, but
No, no nails, just
I don't
chain
s-
it.
I don't see that's
No?
gonna do much,
Okay.
Bob. But creative thinking. I guess Carl's right. If anybody does anything with it, they have to come back anyway.
Yeah.
We can deal with that.
And then from an administrative point of view, we're reviewing this under a cease and desist. Should this come back under a maintenance and restoration permit or something?
Yes,
Application process?
you have to get a regular application to actually do the work. But at least I know what to put in.
Yeah, we could fill
Right,
it
but
out.
for time's sake, we're pretty much stuck on the timeline that we have.
I don't know what that means.
As far as the cease and desist?
As far as
Yeah, we have to act on that.
accepting, reviewing, and approving the next application that comes in, we're on a specific timeline for that. This, we have impunity to continue to show cause until we feel it's been corrected, right? But then there's some certain corrective
Well,
actions that
not
need to be
really.
done.
No. We can tell them to not do anything, but we don't usually tell people, oh, it's okay, we'll keep the order in place, go do something.
Right. So
So
we'd need an
we
application.
need an application.
Meanwhile, the hole stays open, and that's,
Well, how fast
therein lies
can,
my question.
how fast can it move along?
We could get a special meeting. We could accept the application at the special meeting,
Excuse me.
schedule a
thank you.
site visit or not, but frankly, we could close it out at the next meeting if we get a special meeting in between the acceptance of the application.
Can you still make plantings in November?
The planting plan will likely be on hold. The same with the stabilization. Likely all the landscaping aspects of this are gonna be on hold till the spring.
It's too late.
Yeah, it would have had to happen a couple weeks ago, unfortunately.
You're trying to get the hole drained and filled now,
If
before
I-
winter, right?
I'm sorry, can you, are you saying am I or if I, or?
That's what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal if possible. I mean, it's been a very rainy season, so.
And that trench is only getting deeper.
I
Yeah.
know. I kind of like to, let's address the primary question is, what's your feeling about saying, okay, fill it in again?
I'm okay with that. I like the plan as presented.
Okay,
Looks good to me.
Mike?
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
Rob? Okay, so we have a consensus that the basic plan looks okay. We have a protocol issue in terms of how we have to act and what we're supposed to work on.
Okay.
Let's see if there's a way around that.
Can I fill out
How
application
about we
right now?
lift the cease and desist
Yep.
now, which will let you go ahead to work on the pond, subject to your submitting an application with the details in that,
Okay.
and not do anything other than drain the pond and get that filled in.
Okay.
And really, that's because of winter. Does
Yep.
that work for you?
Yeah, that's, sounds like a
Work for
great
you,
plan.
folks?
Yeah, that's great.
Sure.
Okay, I will move then, that we lift the cease and desist insofar, I guess we'll lift the whole thing, but with the directive that you go ahead with the proposal to fill the pond and drain and fill the pond,
Yep.
and have before us by the next meeting, an
Yep.
application containing all the details, construction sequencing, whatever else it is that might be necessary.
Yep. And I could fill that with you, Jordan.
I can email you the application.
Okay.
You
Great.
fill it out, get essentially this
I'll s-
plan, include any additional, sorry, Carl, include any of the additional things that we discussed here today
Donna seconded
regarding
that
if you wanted to
motion.
do a willow, you wanted to do.
So,
Yep.
the motion is presented, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No one's opposed, the motion passes. Okay, so go ahead, do that part, get a regular application in,
Yep.
and then we can deal with, trees, and should we put a couple more in, any of that stuff at the
Okay.
next meeting? That'll let you move ahead with the primary issue.
That's
Yeah,
perfect.
great, okay. Awesome, so you'll email me the paperwork?
I'll email you the paperwork, yep.
Awesome, all right.
That seems fairly reasonable.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Of course, thank you for coming.
You do recognize that when you go to subdivide this, we're gonna really bust you for it.
It's already subdivided.
It is
You're a little too late
subdivided,
on that
but-
one.
I know
Yeah.
there are houses on that picture.
I know, it's
It's like,
amazing.
has no one seen the houses, guys?
Yeah,
Open
it's
your eyes.
amazing it was approved.
All right, thank you.
Okay, that takes care of that matter. We have two items of new business on application 1724 Tempe Drive. Let's schedule site visits, and then we'll deal with it at the next meeting. Application 1725, 75 Bucks Hill Road. Do the same. Site visits,
Yes.
okay? Old business, application 1721, Lakemere Drive, Susan Hooper. I'm not sure what this is about.
This was the,
After the fact grading.
after the fact, they
that's the
removed the
one.
house and stuff over there. Is there a motion, I was just going to make a
How's the
motion.
stabilization, Carl?
It's all done over there, that's perfect. I'm assuming this is just our
Standard.
It's very
boilerplate
boilerplate.
draft, so I'll make a motion to approve application 1721 at 105 Lakemere Drive
Per the draft.
for the draft resolution, yeah,
I'll second.
sorry.
No problem.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Oh, I haven't read it. Oh, I mean,
You don't have to
if,
be
if,
opposed.
if Carl's for it, I
Very
do, I do,
wise.
trust- I
She
just-
needed-
I
Motion
haven't-
passes.
You needed, you have question?
Oh, wait, it was part of the,
Package.
it was attached. Okay, yeah. No, I didn't realize that was one of the
It's
attached.
the boilerplate.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, application 1722, North Georges Hill Road. Okay, this, I actually went on this. Dad's not here, unfortunately. This is, there is a report. It got in late today because I didn't do it.
I got it somewhere.
And Thad did a pretty good job. This whole thing is on a hill. These lots are all on a hill. Only one of them has wetlands on it, it's Lot 8. So we basically didn't do anything with the other 3 lots. The only issues there will be making sure that during construction, proper erosion controls are maintained, because if soils or things start moving off that hill, they're just gonna keep moving. It's quite, what is it, about 15 degrees?
The lot behind,
20?
yeah, the lot behind us is easily that, and
Yeah.
most of these lots are much better positioned than that lot, the one that you saw they were putting a septic on.
Could you mind
Yeah,
identifying
this is
yourself, stranger?
public record, name's Mark Lankor with Dymar. It's been a long time, Carl and Bill, everybody.
Yes.
But I'm just gonna give a little hint of a plan.
That would be great. Thanks, Mark.
You can actually see something that
So as background, we approved this whole subdivision, and they're coming back in
This
to
is,
recut.
so going back, which is, how far back? 2004, 5, 6? Come on, a long time. That was the original subdivision application, that was a PDD back in 2000. We actually brought this in 2004, and then it got approved in 2006, including the wetlands application for the subdivision. And unfortunately, during that period of time, from 2006 to 2008, they were doing some issues with the road. These lots that we're looking at here are these lots right here. Those were originally approved for construction and that sort of thing. The problem occurred back in 2006-07, this road. We had to bring in probably close to 40,000 yards of material because it was all under one big pit of old material from wooden and everything else, and it was just, so we had a big excavation, and that kind of drew the money out. So we were able to finish the work, and these lots here were held in abeyance because we didn't have our septic feasibility at that time. And then 2008 hit. And what do we know about 2008? Market went down, the client elected not to do anything more with the subdivision until actually work has started to proceed, where they're actually selling lots in 2017. And they've been doing that, and now we've come back in for a re-subdivision of these 4 lots. Because at that time, even though we had wetlands approval, we did not have planning approval because we decided to consolidate the lot since we didn't have technical feasibility on the septic. So that's how that got there. So here we are, almost 18 years later, and we're getting the work done, and the driveway's been put in, the lots have been maintained, we've done the under drainage work, we've put in a bioretention basin, it's all been stabilized, and the site walk was indicative of after almost 4 or 5 inches of rain the prior week, it was doing its job, doing the work, and I know there's a few things that Mr. Spencer had suggested in the field with Jordan, and we have no objections to those, whatever you decide to do with your resolution of approval. Hopefully, that's what we're going to grab, and we're going to go from there. So the plan there, actually, on a bigger scale, is like this. So this wetland that is to the south, which butts up against town open space, is really one of these hillside seeps. And we know from that end of town that most of the soils materials in that area are Paxton-type soils or Woodbridge or whatever that come off of this hillside, which comes this way. So you're looking at the hill coming down like this, and this then eventually gets down into the brook, which is on our, goes through the town property.
Kettletown Brook.
Kettletown Brook,
Yep.
and eventually all gets down to Kettletown Brook. So we have developed the plan. The bioretention basin is sitting right here, and the drainage is what we've done is, this is pretty level, the driveway, but we have an under drain here to actually pull out some of the water because of the drainage, and it collects and brings down to the bioretention basin. And that basin is operating quite nicely. I can't believe that, the seeds are already popping. So in the bottom of the basin, so.
There were a couple of things we noted on the site walk. Thad went also, and his report is in here as well. One is that there's a secondary, it's like a leak off coming off the driveway that diverts water before it gets to the bioretention basin. And we suggested that that be reinforced with some additional stone.
Yeah.
It's not hurting anything. It just, there wasn't enough.
It's in this area here, exactly. And then, and I get that. We talked about doing that.
Yeah.
and doing that, so.
So that needs to have some additional work done. The basin itself, same issue. It's armored, probably not enough where, once it gets more than about 4 feet away. So Mark had indicated they would put some additional stone in there. Same thing, slow the water down.
Yep. And it actually kind of fills, we felt, and you can see it, that where we're going to reinforce the bottom, it actually reinforces and it comes back up on grade, so that will hold and actually do a better job.
Yeah, so
Do a better
that
job.
was all right. I did have a question about the size of the retention basin. How did you ascertain how big to make it?
So it's not, if you think about it, it's done in accordance with DEP standards, okay, in terms of the bioretention sizing. It is not when you think about it, I mean, it's actually pretty much oversized. It's a detention, it's not a detention, it's a bioretention basin. So the bioretention basically has the sand and the compost mix in the bottom that actually allows for the material to grow, and it's more for water quality. The weir is what does the job, it's spreading out the water. So we looked at it from a 25-year storm event to make sure that we've got enough capacity. It's not a 100-year storm, you're not gonna do that for 4 lots. Absolutely, then I'd have a basin that's so freaking big, it'd be ridiculous. But the whole concept here is that when we actually do these lots, these 2 buildings here actually get connected. So from a rooftop standpoint, would get connected into that system that eventually ends here. So it's part of the water quality. Those water quality volumes were included in the comps. And then the rest of these here, the driveway does the same thing. But you got to keep in mind, the driveway is tilted back so that part of it is an infiltration system. We have an under drain, but it has an infiltration system. So doesn't do it all year long, but when you've got areas when times when the water table's down a little bit. This will actually infiltrate, grabs, and compounds and grabs, water quality benefits, and it has some recurring retention capacity, because that driveway, this here is dead, almost dead flat. It's like a less than 0.5%.
And you might want to note that that actually is already in.
Yes, this is all, this
To
is
be
all,
built,
in.
that's been built.
It's been built.
Do you have, did your engineer run off calculations on the basin?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Do we have those?
The water quality comps are in your file.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't see.
Yep, nope, they're in the file.
So the source of the water for this basin is the drainage off the road primarily?
It's actually gonna cut some of the, because if you've been out the site, there's a high water table.
Haven't.
When you're out there, it's a high water table. So this basin will actually take some groundwater to pull it off, because of the situation where you could not build that road. You need to drop it in order to get the groundwater out, because all the driveways up there, everything that's up there has under drainage. Anybody that's built any of those sites up there has to have under drainage, because 2 or 3 of the homes, for builders did not do it. They didn't hire us, they hired somebody else. Those driveways and those homes were blown out, literally, in the spring. They had to come back and rebuild them and put the drainage that we suggested.
Do you remember
So-
that when Willowbrook was having some issues a few years ago, and the driveway down onto the street kept blowing out?
Downgrade.
No, I don't remember that.
It did. I believe it did.
So you're
So-
saying that during the dry portions of the year, the water's gonna infiltrate
Yep.
through that?
Yep.
And during high water table,
Well,
it's gonna collect it?
Collect it
send
and
to-
bring it down and bring it to the basin, which is fine, because that's what they do, that's what they're supposed to do. You don't concentrate it, you put it into a basin, it's a biofiltration. Whole thing is, you're gonna get the plant material, you get all the reaction of being able to get the cleansing from bioretention.
Now,
So-
on lot, is it lot 7 that's above it, the one that they're
Yeah,
building
lot
on
7
now?
here, yeah,
That sucker is so steep,
yeah.
we were watching it, we were concerned they were gonna roll the excavator. I mean, it was a nightmare. And
Yeah.
one advantage of having that drain is that it will help pick up the groundwater, surface water flow during storms, because it's just gonna come, it's already ripping right down that hill. They built the house too high,
Ugh.
and
Again, they didn't listen
they
to us.
did not,
Yeah.
well, when we were there, it wasn't stabilized at all, it was just dirt. I don't know what it looks like today after. a couple
Well, I'm
inches of
hopeful
rain.
they're gonna get that thing stabilized quick, because our whole area is completely grassed in now, because they did the correct mix, and once we got a couple hot days, so it's a annual rye, 40-60% perennial rye. That annual rye popped up right away, so it's all formally stabilized.
You know, that was pretty well covered when we were up there, so I
Yeah.
wasn't too concerned about that. It's really the people upgrading it that they're gonna
Yeah.
have that problem.
So the other thing that we've done since you were there,
That's his problem.
Bill, was that we also put, so you saw the exposed stone, but we've just had 3 foot of river stone brought on top of that.
Okay.
That river stone is there for another reason. It's also, it's much aesthetic as well as services another function. So,
The differences in this plan to what was approved?
Nothing.
Nothing.
so this whole thing was
Is this gonna
designed.
be a town road, or is
Nope,
this all
it's all
private?
private, it's all
And
private.
What is the maintenance component of this?
So it's by the association, not by the individual homeowners.
I mean, is there manholes for access or
Oh, yeah,
cleanouts, or
there's
how is it?
there's manholes for access, and really with the bioretention basin, that, we've got the proper berm around it, and that, it's, quite frankly, when you get that, once everything's stabilized, it runs on its own. The only thing is they gotta go down and they gotta cut it twice a year.
Yeah,
In
we
order
do,
to-
we discussed this, and
Yeah.
we're gonna need to, I would like to see the homeowners association agreement
Mm-hmm,
obligating them to take care of that.
yep.
And I'd
Yeah.
like it to be enforceable by the town, if we have to.
Not an issue, not an issue, Bill. In fact, I know that that agreement right now is also, they've gotta take care of, it's not just there, it's the farm. Well,
I
there's
know.
all sorts of stuff, you know.
So has one been drafted yet?
They haven't, they couldn't sell a lot without having an association agreement in there.
Does it include that basic? Of
I'm
course
gonna
it
have to
does.
check for you, Bill.
Yeah.
You know.
You could just
We
send
need
me
to
a
see
copy
that.
of that.
Yeah, we'll get you a copy. I mean, and I would hope that, you know, with that can be, if, with the benefit of hopefully that the commission can seek to approve, that could be a condition of approval. That would have to be, if it's not there, it would have to be legally put and filed on the land records. Not an issue, that's not an issue. And quite frankly,
just has to be
I'm,
done.
it has to be done. I employ that. There's too many folks that sometimes around that don't do that. And the town's been pretty good
What are you
about it.
looking at in terms of construction, commencing the actual site work?
So,
You're doing it this year, or you're gonna wait until?
Now,
spring?
I mean, this lot is under contract, okay? And they're not closing until December.
You're not doing
This work's not gonna happen until next year.
Okay, so we're not in a rush. So we can wait, get some of these documents and things in place. We can get a resolution, because I don't think we have one.
Well, I've got a P and Z hearing on next Tuesday.
Oh, I didn't see this.
You can have
Yeah,
that added. It's-
yeah, and so, you know, and I've got my approval already for Health Department.
PED number 19.
Are you using a similar drainage system as this elsewhere in the development?
Oh, there's,
On the.
There's not a-
or
there's
maybe it's
not
the
a-
development next door that has it.
next door has it.
They have something
They
similar
have
up
some
there,
similars.
up at the end of that one too?
Yep, you can see it when that road, when you go in, I wish the town would go in and cut those trees out, because those really need to be edged out. That basin is just fully grown up, I don't even know how it's even got
Which one are we
capacity.
I don't know.
The one up,
Reading this.
the next one up the hill,
Oh,
so, they did a great job in our subdivision, absolutely the best, you know?
this is what, Weston Hook?
Yes, Weston Hook, that basin there needs to be seriously cleaned out. Because that actually discharges to our property.
A lot of fill required on that last lot?
No, this is gonna just be regraded in and out. You take out from one and you create the yards in the back. These lots are much nicer than some of the other ones that have been built on already. And they just did not put them up for sale right away.
They're lower.
Yeah, they're lower, but we brought original plans, and you look at the history of the job, was these houses were further back. That was part of the issues with the septic. I have brought all these, I said, just bring them forward. Just bring them right forward, and bring them right almost up to the setback line. And then because this is a really nice quaint drive, we've actually we've planted 16, 16 trees recently that look beautiful. You know, October glories right down. So the whole thing is gonna look quite nice.
So the infiltration under the road,
Mm-hmm.
right, do we have to worry about that getting clogged, or is there a lifetime on that? No?
There's a filter fabric.
No,
in
there's
place.
filter fabric around it.
Okay.
When you build it correctly, they last a long time. So they're filter fabric, and the only thing, that's why comes across the top, you put your top 2 or 3, 4 inches, that if it ever gets clogged on top, you just peel that off, and the stuff below is clean. So, yeah.
I think we need to amend the resolution to add the provisions for the additional stone
Yep.
at the leak-off end at the,
And the documentation,
Mhm.
yeah,
it's fine.
and
more than
get the HOA homeowners agreement, maintenance agreement.
And if it's, to have it and make sure that it's inclusive of the maintenance of the basins and the recording on the land records, and then reporting to the town.
Twice a
And
year.
that the town has the right to go in. That, not an issue. We've done that many a times.
We're agreeing to twice a year maintenance.
I've helped Gail McTaggart write those in the past. So,
Okay, so we can go through this and put these conditions in now, or you can go back, rework the application, put that in, and we can approve it next month. What's your,
I would love it for you to put it in tonight and act on it, and I'm
Okay.
hopeful, because I know I've got everything ready for the P and Z hearing next week, and I should be good.
No.
okay, then I will move to approve the draft resolution with the addition of, I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead, Bob.
nothing.
With the addition of requirements for additional stone at the driveway leak-off and at the retention basin, bioretention basin. That before construction starts, we receive and approve a maintenance agreement for the bioretention pond, which will include twice-a-year cleaning and enforceability by the town.
Yep.
And that's what I have. Anybody else
I
have
got
anything?
one more
Go ahead.
comment. Is there plantings associated with the bio basin?
It's already been seeded with a bioretention mix. It's a mix that grows seeded in the bottom. It's already in there now.
That's all that's planned for?
Yeah, believe me, I can tell you, I can show you one that we did. It doesn't take long for those
Okay.
suckers to come up.
And
If you
it
do,
doesn't
if you
take
put the
them,
right seed in.
Make them fix it.
I just didn't know if they were doing plantings that require a bond or something. That was kind of what I was curious about.
That's good, good point.
Oh.
I don't think so. Okay, do we have a second on the motion?
I'll
Mr. Laflamme seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No one opposed. Motion passes. You're good to go.
Thank you very much,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Chairman. Thank you, everybody. It's good to see everybody.
Hope to see more of you.
Sorry about your
Don't talk to him. Okay, what else do we have? Pine Rock Road, remove and replace a deck in the rear and some other details I haven't particularly looked at. What do we need to do with this?
I think it's relatively minor in nature,
Come on up.
State
I
your
think
name.
it is.
from what I
Thad and I did the site walk and everything was very basic. I've worked with Chris, he seems capable of doing the work, the site looks good, and if you just want to quickly state your name, address, and what you're planning on doing.
Sure. Yeah, Chris Schwanger, 122 Pine Rock Road. Good evening, everybody. Pretty much, you guys just read it. It's exactly like it is. The deck is really old. It's beyond its useful life, so to speak, and we just want to, fix the area up and make it usable and safe. And we worked with Jordan and the town to make sure everything was kosher within the rules, and came out and looked at it, and everybody seemed in agreement. So happily would answer any questions if there's any other questions about it, but
Is this anywhere near the wetlands, Jordan?
Oh, no, 100-foot upland review area from the
Okay.
Mont Rog.
I have a plan copy too over at my seat, and if you guys need me to grab it, I could grab that.
To the last.
Thank you. There we go. Anybody want to look at this?
There's a couple of them. There you go, Don.
Okay.
I know, I'm familiar with it.
Okay. What do you
This
think?
I don't see any issues with it. This applicant was,
The simplest aspect I can tell you is that the area where he intends on doing any site work, soil disturbance whatsoever, his site is kind of terraced in that there's these step downs before he gets to the waterway. And the area where he is intending on doing the work, it's almost contained on its own terrace. So the idea for soil erosion being exacerbated in this area, it's not really a huge concern. Not to mention, there's not much soil excavation that's proposed with just simple posts with the
Yeah,
deck.
and I believe right before you guys came, there was one of those recent deluges, and, I mean, you could even see, like, the pinch point has, like, little to no erosion, but we still want to just, like, better fix up that area with more stone and just some piping, just to have it last forever, so we never have to talk about it or look at it again.
Right,
Right.
that makes sense.
we granted this applicant a permit a couple of years ago to do those terraces out in the front there.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he
I don't-
He managed to do that without any complications, so this should be relatively minor compared to that, right?
Works for me.
Yeah, my back still feels those terraces too.
Well, it's going to feel worse after you do this.
Yes.
I have no issues. We have a resolution? How did you fold this?
I don't know.
Yeah. This is a standard, our standard resolution.
Motion to approve application 1723 according to our draft resolution.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You're good.
Okay, thank you, everybody, I appreciate it.
You gonna try to do it this fall, or you gonna do it in the spring?
See what the weatherman gives us, but probably gonna at least get the old stuff out of there before the winter comes.
Good luck.
Quick point of order, Chris.
What's
Just submit the standard zoning,
gonna come
building,
back up
that
with
whole thing. We'll work together, so.
Yeah, we can go see Mark.
Not a problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Well,
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry if I didn't speak up at the right moment. I'm Erin Viviano. I was new business number 1,
yes.
and sorry, that went very quickly, and I just
No,
wasn't sure if there
sorry,
were
we didn't-
any,
We didn't
Didn't know you were
indicate that
here.
we wanted, anything like that. No, that's totally fine, by all means. No, you're fine.
Well, thank you all. As I said, I'm Erin Viviano, and we submitted our application for some tree removal, and just to know if there's any questions or what the process is.
The process is, we're gonna go out and take a look at it, and if it's what you're saying it is,
Based on the site plan that you
probably
guys
not gonna be
submitted.
a big deal.
Yeah.
Our real concern is if the trees are in the wetland, and that isn't really that big a deal. We just don't want a lot of heavy equipment going into the wetlands because it tears it all up.
Okay.
And they're dealing with the 100-foot upland review area from the water course.
Okay, shouldn't be
So-
an issue.
I think the only equipment involved is chainsaws and a chipper further up.
Okay,
I think
well,
that's
we'll
wonderful.
take a look at
All right.
that when we're there, and
That's gonna be a pretty steeply sloping lot there, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah,
there's
you
a-
near
Oh,
Perry
Tepe.
Kest?
I'm sorry,
Are you near Perry Kest?
I don't know that.
Yes,
Okay.
she is.
oh, yes, you're on one of those
Mm-hmm.
that goes down to the water.
It's a beautiful
Right.
area.
Yes,
It's just hard to work on
Do
something.
you have a dock down below?
there is a
And
dock.
so there's some sort of a path or something to get down there?
There is a path, a paved path all the way down.
So essentially, the procedure from here on out is our administrative assistant, Sonia, will reach out to you. We'll schedule a site visit. Myself and hopefully a number of commissioners will be able to attend that site visit. If you're there, walk us through the property, talk us through what you're planning, and it'll essentially be an opportunity for the commission to assess what the property looks like, assess what the job is going to entail, and they'll be able to better make their decision at the following meeting post that site visit. All right? And that's pretty much it.
All right,
All right. Sorry we kept you for so long.
that's quite all right.
Thank you for coming.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. What else? Other business, work session, aquifer regulations. Seriously? I don't think so.
Sorry, guys. I've recently taken on the role as the planner. I'm a little inundated with things at the moment.
Really?
Yep, I know, Bill, it's hard to believe,
It is.
so apologies.
Do you have any reports that we should worry about?
No, if there was a report, he came in as a show cause, and that's typically how these things go, so
Okay.
nothing to report wetlands-wise.
Bills and receipts.
We have no bills and receipts is $1,365 from September 15 to October 6.
Okay, thank you very much. We did get correspondence from the state for some road work. I think it's completely outside our jurisdiction. It's an informative message only, and these guys know more about it than I do, so.
If you guys want to see the plans, they're available.
I'm only hearing rumors. I haven't seen anything, seen any plans or anything.
You want to just give us a quick summary?
They're redoing the entire thing.
Redoing the
The
whole
two
thing. in exit
intersections.
14.
From
man,
Main
I
Street
kinda like-
South all the way up to Fish Rock, North Georgia's intersection. So the intersection with Maggie's, the church.
Yep, the whole
It's
thing.
all getting revamped, frankly,
Really?
it's necessary. So, if you've
Good.
ever tried to make a straight going towards Maggie's,
Oh,
but
yeah,
everyone's turning left,
that's
but they're
true. That's
logged,
true.
and now you gotta jump around people, and then at the last second, that person turns, and now you're going parallel with
You're not
someone.
allowed to go around them.
You're not.
I
which
got
is-
stopped for doing that.
well, in my younger years, I'd probably go around, but now I'm more a patient man, so.
Yeah, I've
No,
got
you're not.
stopped too,
We
actually.
know better than
I
that.
mean-
So it's gonna be what are they projecting, how long it's gonna take? A year? So it'll be about 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh my
At least.
gosh.
It's gonna be a long time.
It'll be a horrible mess.
No, no one ever uses that intersection. have to go all the way around town.
It's our least user.
They're probably
I
not
go that
done
way all the
studying the
time.
problem yet.
Everybody uses that constantly. Okay. Minutes, approval of September 12 minutes. Any comments? Because if there are no comments, they're approved. This is your chance. Yell at Sonia. Come on.
Oh, guys, John did a great job.
Yeah, she did a great job. Okay, we're good. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, John.
And I don't think we have anything else. Anybody have anything else to talk about? Anything that's relevant?
No.
As always, thank you all for coming.
Do you have a successor?
Not yet. We're taking applications, though. So if you guys know anyone.
I've done my part.
You have. Yeah.
Okay, I will move to adjourn at 8:02, 1 hour. Not bad.
All righty.
My wife might even be awake.
All right.
Still real quick.
Looks like another pretty easy month ahead of us.